In the dense, humid jungles of Guyana, nearly 1,000 American citizens died in a single afternoon. Men, women, children, entire families, drank or were forced to ingest cyanide-laced punch. This was not war. It was not terrorism. It was belief. Twisted, manipulated belief. This is the true story of Jonestown. A story not of horror fiction, but of reality. And a warning to all. James Warren Jones was born on May 13, 1931, in Crete, Indiana. The child of a struggling, partially disabled World War I veteran father and a deeply religious mother, Jim Jones grew up in a fractured household that often teetered on poverty. His early years were marked by a fascination with religion and death. He reportedly held funerals for small animals and was seen as a loner, strange, intense, and fixated on control. As a young man, Jones became deeply disillusioned with racial inequality. He admired leaders like Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr., and early in his life, he adopted leftist political ideals. This obsession with justice, mixed with an ego-craving adoration, formed the dual pillars of the movement he would later build, the People's Temple. In the 1950s, Jones began preaching in Indiana. He quickly distinguished himself from mainstream ministers by blending fiery sermons with progressive politics. He preached racial integration and equality, even when it drew anger and threats. He opened a church in Indianapolis that welcomed people of all races, a rarity in the racially segregated America of the 1950s. But this was only the beginning. In the 1960s, Jones moved his congregation to California, seeking a more progressive environment. By the early 1970s, the People's Temple was thriving in San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Redwood Valley. Jones had created a well-oiled machine of influence, bolstered by loyal members who often gave over their life savings, homes, and even custody of their children to the church. He offered housing, meals, healing services, and a vision of a perfect socialist utopia. But there was a catch: complete loyalty was required. Dissenters were shamed, punished, or excommunicated. Members were forced to write false confessions, surrender personal secrets, and submit to humiliating sessions meant to break their independence. By now, Jones was claiming he was a reincarnation of Christ, Lenin, and Buddha. His paranoia deepened. He surrounded himself with armed guards and had church members rehearse mass suicide drills called White Nights. Some members left, many were too scared or too conditioned to try. If you are following up till this moment, please like, comment and subscribe to our channel for more videos. Now let's continue. By 1974, Jones had begun purchasing land in the remote jungles of Guyana, South America. The dream was to create a socialist paradise, a haven for the oppressed, away from the racism and corruption of the United States. In 1977, following media investigations into abuse and financial exploitation, Jones accelerated the move. Hundreds of followers boarded planes and ships, bound for what was promoted as the Promised Land. But Jonestown was no paradise. It was a muddy, cramped compound carved into the jungle, guarded by armed sentries. Food was scarce. Workdays were long, and sermons often stretched into the night. Jones's health was deteriorating. He was heavily addicted to amphetamines and tranquilizers. His speeches slurred between Marxism, prophecy. Back in the United States, the People's Temple was dissolved. Investigations revealed financial fraud, physical and sexual abuse, and a vast network of mind control techniques used by Jones. Surviving family members struggled for decades with the grief, guilt, and trauma. Some became outspoken advocates, warning others about the dangers of cults. The phrase "drinking the Kool-Aid," a misreference to the cyanide-laced drink, entered pop culture, often trivialized without understanding the tragedy behind it. What happened at Jonestown wasn't just about one man's madness. It was a complex convergence of charismatic manipulation. Jones used fear, guilt, and love to dominate minds. Social isolation, cut off from the outside world, followers were made to depend on the group. Gradual conditioning, loyalty was built over years, slowly eroding critical thinking. Political idealism, many joined the temple out of sincere hopes for racial and economic justice. Fear of retaliation, Once in Jonestown, many were too afraid or too indoctrinated to leave. Experts compare it to totalitarian regimes in microcosm, where groupthink, fear, and manipulation strip people of agency. The Jonestown Massacre is not a horror story from fiction. It is a real, cautionary tale about the human need for belonging, and how that need can be weaponized. Over 900 lives were lost. Most were African Americans, many were elderly, and nearly a third were children. Their deaths weren't just the result of poison. They were the end of a slow, terrifying descent into control, despair, and ultimate betrayal. As long as people seek hope in dark places, Jonestown stands as a haunting reminder of how far devotion can be twisted, and how vital it is to question, to think, and to speak out when something feels wrong. Real Story Network. Documenting truth, however painful. Comment your thoughts about this video and click on the subscription button for more.